Local coverage. This is News 10.
In Article 1, there's a provision that says the date, time, and place of election shall be determined by the states. Did I say anything about the federal government in that statement? It doesn't say that in the Constitution either.
That's Cooley Law Professor Jeffrey Schwartz saying President Donald Trump's mail-in voting executive order will be challenged in court immediately. Good evening. I'm Ann Emmerich.
And I'm David Andrews. This comes as we are looking ahead to the May 5th election, and absentee ballots were just sent out last week to Michiganders. News 10's Jaden Hawkins joins us now in studio. And Jaden, many state and local officials don't approve of the president's executive order.
And David, President Trump signed an executive order Tuesday that would determine how states verify who can vote in elections and require barcodes on every mail-in ballot. Since many state and local officials have voiced concerns about both the policy and its legal standing. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order aimed at tightening election security, but local officials say it solves a problem that doesn't exist.
We have safe, secure, and accurate elections, so this is just an overreach that doesn't provide any benefit.
The order directs federal agencies to build and regularly send states a list of confirmed U.S. citizens who will be 18 or older by Election Day. But Lansing City Clerk Chris Swope, who oversees more than 22,000 voters on the city's permanent mail-in ballot list, says non-citizens voting is not an issue he sees.
It doesn't make sense logically because we don't have non-citizens voting. It's very extremely rare. It doesn't make sense administratively.
The order also directs the U.S. Postal Service to begin creating rules to require outbound ballot envelopes to be labeled as official election mail and include unique trackable barcodes, and envisions USPS using state-specific lists to track who should receive and return mail-in ballots.
That barcode will identify the person whose ballot is to be inside. Number one, that gives people an opportunity, if they are unscrupulous, to open up those ballots, take a look and see who the person's voting for.
Cooley Law Professor Jeffrey Schwartz says that raises serious privacy concerns and involves too many departments in an already safe process.
We have a lot of legislation that controls voting, who can vote, who can't, and how mail-in ballots are obtained and how they are sent in.
Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson released a statement today about the order, stating, quote, "This executive order is illegal on its face. States run elections, not the president. This order will only make it harder for eligible Michigan citizens to vote and will create chaos at every step of the election process. I will take swift action to fight this illegal order in court," end quote.
All right, Jaden, thank you. City Clerk Chris Swope is urging voters to stay informed about any election policy changes and to make sure your identification documents are up to date. He says if anything is expired, the time to renew it is today, not Election Day. Michigan State Police say